National Education Policy 2020. We are very much delighted to have you, sir, in our session. And this is the most important thing which we'll be sharing at a first word by you. So we are really delighted, and I'm very much thankful for sparing valuable time from your busiest schedule for we teachers. Thank you very much, sir. I now request you to start your session.
So with your permission, I would like, Sir Venkat sir, we are having with us Dr. Anurag Singh, the speaker, which is the continuation. Sir, he is also present here from the Triple IT Naya Raipur from Chhattisgarh. He is also present in the session, sir.
Oh, fabulous. Welcome, welcome, Sadanto. It's my honor that, I happen to be amongst one of the best people. It's
Hello,
absolutely
sir.
my singular. Anurag, very, very good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Fine, fine. How are you?
Very good, very good. Good to see you and good to be in a platform wherein, the most learned people are there. So please do accept me also as part of you people only when I am speaking. Nothing extra. It just so happens that I happen to be having access to certain documents. And it is those documents only which has just given me that little bit additional. So that's all. Otherwise, I think academically nobody can touch you or even come closer to you people.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, having said that, thank you, Savita ma'am. Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot, RGVP. Always, that you people keep on continuing with your demonstrated performance as far as activities are concerned towards various quality-related subjects. Some of them being physical activities which happen, some of them being in research, some of them being academically, some of them being faculty development. Some of them also happens to be giving them the latest pedagogical orientation, and some of them guidelines and policy which either the central government or your university itself frames. So all the best, congrats. You people always seem to be at the forefront, and why not? You have got one of the very, very able-bodied and able-minded Vice Chancellor, very respected and revered Vice Chancellor. So quite obviously you people, I think, are taking the full use of very honorable gentlemen. And what do we see at AICT is RGVP always shining, the congrats. That's a well said, well done, good achievement. And having said that, my topic for the day happens to be insight into what's an NEP, and then subsequently as to, how NEP implementation. Let us talk of what is implementation towards NEP, rolling out of NEP and the activities which are expected to be carried out in a year's time, 2 years, 3 years, and that's all accordingly, by everybody. Each one of you is aware the last of the NEP was 86. That is the then National Education Policy. So it took country nearly 34 years, ideally speaking, like I said, and I keep saying, generally speaking, it is not necessary, or it is not desired, to be very honest with each one of you, that a policy has to come into existence to teach us that what needs to be done. And then because, or just because the policy is out, now all of us are then reacting to the policy. Ideally speaking, if each one of us understands our terms, conditions, responsibility, duties, then I don't personally feel that this kind of statement or this kind of situation should have arisen ever. Each one of us are proactive in our respective forum, field. My area of responsibility, I don't think so that we require, especially when I talk to you people, I don't get an inclination even once that there needs to be some kind of an imposing of any policy on you people, but let us go through what policy has come out of National Education 2020, and some of the very, very respected and revered academicians and people have been on board to make this, and their suggestions and their guidelines, their policy, their way ahead, their rolling out plan is, I personally felt, or even at AICT we feel, or at the ministry we feel, that it is absolutely in sync with what is desired today. And if we people are into higher education, nothing in higher education can actually speaking be completed, for that matter, even be initiated, unless and until we don't have little bit grasp of, little bit knowledge of school education. Because it is the same set of children who come from school education, graduate towards you. Certain requirements or certain parameters, certain attributes which you feel that your student should be having, that cannot be inculcated in the 4 years time in which they are coming to you as an undergraduate students. It needs to be built in much, much before. So having said that, what has happened is the policy from 10+2 shifts to 5+3 plus 3 plus 4. Each one of you know what is this 3, 5 and 3 and 3 and 4. It comes as foundational, preparatory, middle stage and secondary stage. That is how the difference has taken place. And various bracketing and various silos have been made with a specific concern. And there has been a specific tasking allotted to every stage. At the first 5, when we say, it's 3 years pre-primary plus class 1 and class 2, here, government has given a very clear mandate, compulsory teaching and learning in the regional language. See, this is how you promote a regional language. This is how you make a child who is at a very infancy stage today to understand his regional language. Then come the next 3. Here, even though the word compulsory has not been used, it has been desired that you continue with the preparatory stage in the same desired manner, with little bit inclination or little bit introduction of vocational or skill subjects. This is class 3 to 5. And now comes your middle stage, that is 6 to 8, 3 years. When we say 5 plus 3 plus 3, third 3, here vocational takes a major role into your education, into your teaching. And so child is given an equal share of exposure. And then comes your secondary, the last 4, wherein based on the child's capability, expertise and his inclination is shifted into the various streams with no specific guideline given to him that he compulsorily has to study this. The child is given an option to pick and choose his subjects. So with this kind of breakage is happening, expectation which has now come is that the child who is going to pass out, the student who is going to come as a well-read and educated child from school education to your higher education would naturally be having a graduate attributes, or at this point of time student attributes, which is desired at that point of time. And this is very clearly catering each and every section of the society, each and every person, whether he is from the EWS, whether he is physically challenged, handicapped, Divyang, whether it's a girl child, whether it's from a person who's manageable income or somebody who can lavishly spend on academics. So this system caters for everybody. So when the child who comes out from here is on a common platform, this is the first time you interact. And when this is the first time you interact, you expect certain basic sets from him. And when we expect a certain basic sets from him, towards this, the NEP now focuses, if I take you directly to the chapter of higher education. I think if I'm not wrong, chapter 9 onwards talks of higher education as far as the NEP 2020 is concerned. And it's very elaborately spelled out. Very, very elaborately spelled out as to what are the various expectations from this particular national education policy. There are many highlights. There are many, many highlights of the national education policy. And I'll keep telling you when I'm talking to you that at the same time, where all ministry is there, at which level we are, and what is required to match what is expected in the NEP. First, we should understand as to what are our present handicaps and what are our challenges today. Where are we today? Today we face a very fragmented education system, absolutely disoriented, disjointed. And when I say disoriented, disjointed, it's purely because you will see every department in isolation. Even if you're part of one institute, your departments are absolutely in isolation. Forget about orientation or cooperation between neighboring 2 institutes within an institute. So there's a lack of joining, which we call cohesiveness. There's a lack in that. Today there is, lesser emphasis on learning outcomes oblique development of cognitive skills. It's little lesser, even though a lot of people will differ from what is being said, but it is there, but it is to the lesser side than what is expected. This needs to be at par on its terms from what is expected. There's a very clear, rigid demarcation of disciplines. Absolute clear guidelines given. If you are mechanical, you're purely mechanical, study this. There are no overlapping or matching subjects. There are clear mandates given to everybody. Local languages absolutely is a no, except I think if I'm not wrong, Tamil Nadu Anna University must be the only university which is now allowing. Not now, they're already doing it. I think their undergraduate courses are in Tamil. Except that university, I don't think so anybody has taken a lead as far as regional language is concerned. Then we lack today autonomy. We lack. There are a lot of universities, big universities having more than 800,000 institutes which are directly coming under their affiliation. How does one expect a growth in case if suppose everybody is looking forward to directions coming from higher office? So autonomy is a good thing which has been found, if given, results into academics being flourishing. Not only academics, any activity. You give a gentleman autonomy, he will come out with the best from his own side. However, I always mention, with autonomy comes accountability. These two things always move side by side. So the moment one understands autonomy, one has to understand accountability. And every time it's incorrect, actually speaking, to continuously keep talking as to what we lack always in others. It is always nice to sometimes see introspection and look into ourselves also. So when we also need to look into ourselves, and it's nothing harm in it, no embarrassment, no shame, that there is little bit an ineffective regulatory system also today. And when we say an ineffective regulatory system, the blame for this regulatory system quite obviously goes where I would rather not say that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if I have to say that the problem is everywhere and not only in one system, it's everywhere. Whether it's an institute, whether it's a faculty, whether it's the students who are coming, with what expectations is coming, whether what is the regulatory body mandated to do, what is happening at the people who are responsible. So all together collectively, there is little shortcomings. So these are the challenges today which we are facing. With these challenges, in case if suppose we understand what are the given challenges, then we can straight away be coming to understand what are the key changes, what have been proposed in the policy, the major changes, and I'm referring to higher education. One of the major changes which has been proposed, and the first one happens to be a large multidisciplinary institution and universities. By 2035, 2040, it is expected that every district of India would be having one multidisciplinary institute. What we at AICT and Ministry together decided, instead of a word multidisciplinary, please add a prefix value-based. But there's a lot of context in value-based terminology, because an Indian knowledge system is coming out as one of the major chapters and subjects being spoken today. If we have to promote regional languages alone cannot be promoted unless and until you showcase your values and culture. So what we propose is, instead of the word multidisciplinary institutions, use the word value-based multidisciplinary institute. At least start saying this word. Tomorrow, what kind of values come or not, that is secondary. At least start saying. When somebody starts saying, automatically you will think twice. So this is what first we are proposing. Then as I said very clearly, there needs to be an autonomy. Faculty and institutional autonomy, both to be going together. It cannot have an institutional autonomy with faculty not getting an autonomy. Both to have an autonomy towards work, towards execution, towards their responsibility. Mind you, the statement which I said earlier continues to remain the same. Please also ensure that accountability is built in. It's built in, into the system it should be built in. Then we need to follow what is the correct course of action. There needs to be revamping of the curriculum. There needs to be introduction of pedagogical subjects. And why is this felt necessary? It is not that the current system of your curriculum is bad or poor. It is just because this new system does, or new policy does say, sorry, it's not a new policy, it's a national education policy. This national education policy does mention multiple entry and multiple exit. When multiple entry and multiple exit are being proposed at any level and every level, there is a but obvious requirement of revamping the curriculum and adjusting the curriculum so that a boy or girl who is leaving at any point of time is given some suitable degree or suitable certificate for his carrying forward the credits, which is quite obviously will be carried forward because the credits will continue to be there. He can always come in at a later time, continue with in any of the institution. It's not necessary that he or she has to come to the same parent institution. But he needs to be also be made employable. He also needs to be imparted with little bit of skill sets in him, so that when he leaves, for whatever reasons can be plenty, why should a person leave in between? But if he or she leaves, he or she should be made that much competent and capable so as to take on some tasking. So that certificate has to be accordingly being made based on the curriculum which you people are going to be designing and making, which quite obviously requires certain bridge courses also. So that when he comes later, he needs to be given some bridge courses to match in immediately the syllabi or the curricula which is going on. And what we propose is no certificates to be given to any student after first year for the purposes of multiple entry and exit. Anybody leaving after first year, no certificate, his credit marks will only be counted. And in first year, the syllabus will be common. Undergraduate first year, the syllabus will be common for all disciplines. Only based on your performance in first year and your inclination and your motivation, which would be understood and read by various teachers, that your discipline-wise fragmentation will happen in second year. And second year onwards, you are at liberty to adopt multiple entry and exit for the purposes of getting on a job, getting on skill sets, getting on tasking. Anybody wishes to continue for full 3 more years, 1 + 3, and then take on your degree and go. This is to make sure that every person in the society who for whatever reasons used to leave earlier could never get a job, could never go back again into his education system for want of, that 1 year which you missed out, you couldn't have done it. Now is the time wherein every person has been brought at a level playing field. Let me assure you, there is a one full chapter on teacher education. So quite obviously, this national policy also does recognize faculty member or the teachers as the focal point or the central point of a educational institute. There's a lot of debate which keeps going on, on a triangle, who's supposed to be the head of the triangle. Whether an institution, whether a student or a faculty. You can keep placing the triangle in the manner that you wish to put it, but end of the day, the triangle stops always at the faculty at the top. Why does it stop with faculty at the top? Because in every organizational system, there has to be responsibility and accountability. Institute cannot be made accountable, students cannot be made accountable. Somebody has to take onus and responsibility, and there is nobody else other than the faculty. So faculty becomes the most important, and very rightfully in the education policy, it has been identified. And then they very clearly spelled out various activities which needs to be done by a faculty as to how he's supposed to be educating himself, herself. And how a faculty today, given this pandemic, even though all of us have had a very troubled time in the last 1 year, current 1 year going on, but this present time has taught us a very good thing, and that very good thing that they have taught is that online education is possible. This was something which earlier was not even thought of. It was passed off, as an activity which is, okay, fine, I have heard it, let's move ahead. But this particular times has taught us that an online education is very much a reality. And with 40% credit marks being allowed to be given to students on an online, please understand and appreciate that the balance only 60% he or she is supposed to be now taking from a face-to-face interaction. So a teacher now also needs to educate himself on the various methods of online teaching in addition to what you people already do of face-to-face teaching. Online teaching is not just come and speak and go back. Online teaching is a massive responsibility wherein you need to understand the technology. So another chapter on national education policy does talk of integration of technology also. And that integration of technology is not only for faculties, it's for everybody. Integration of technology is for developing the contents, developing the modules, course materials, ensuring quality of the course materials, identifying the best faculty, ensuring that the best of the platforms are utilized to convey your thought process, to convey your instructions, taking on exercises, online exercises, carrying out evaluation, carrying out their assessment. So this is a whole new activity which is coming out, which all of us, whether we wanted or not, have gone through in this past 10 months or 11 months. So if I may also say to you people that you people are now very much inclined or into the national education policy implementation already, with you people having done all these activities. Imagine if this would not have happened, then this activity would have come to you as an absolutely new topic and a new subject. Today, each one of you are much, much more versed and confirmed and confident on various platforms. So that is something which these times, troubled times, have taught us and educated us and made us a little bit more confident in discharge of our duties. One very good, I would rather not say it's a chapter, it's a very important paragraph which is there in the national education policy, and it is equity, equality, access, and inclusion. There are 4 things. Very wonderfully told and spelled out. If all of us understands these 4, then there is absolutely no requirement for us to even go ahead and see as to why this policy has come in. I had small doubts or little bit of doubts when I was discussing equity. I used to keep asking, what is the equity? Why equity word has been separately mentioned as concept when equality has been mentioned? And when you mention access. So when I understood the definition meaning and dictionary meaning of the word equity, I very clearly understood what does it imply. It implies that, let us say, a class of students, 10 students in a class requires to be given a bicycle. So the government announces the policy, free bicycle to every student. All 10 students have been given a cycle. Irrespective whether he is a boy, he is a girl, the girl is 5 feet, the boy is 6 feet. Irrespective whether the boy is handicapped or the girl is whatever. But the cycle has been given to everybody. Now this is called equality. What is equity? Equity is based on the desired needs of a person, he or she, and his or her problems are being addressed. So a girl has to be given a smaller cycle, a boy has to be given a little bit larger cycle. Somebody with disability in leg has to be given a tricycle. That is called equity. If you understand this, this is where your responsibility comes in. who don't understand, people as much desired attention as wanted to that respective student. That is the definition of equity which I understood. I'm asking people as to why the word was there. So if I have understood, I thought might as well, make you understand what is equity and what is the 40, 50 webinars towards implementation activity only. So every paragraph has been addressed. And we have broken down every paragraph into various subsets. Wherever I feel that a faculty or an institution needs to be figuring in, I'll keep speaking. One of the another very important facets of this national education policy was increase in the gross enrollment ratio. It is said that the gross enrollment ratio should be increasing to 50% by the year 2030. And it's minimal today. If you and us all know, today the gross enrollment ratio is touch and go 20 plus in higher education. Getting from 20 plus to 50% is a huge ask. It's actually speaking saying for the last 70 plus years of Indian independence, whatever was there, you need to double it. What couldn't happen in last 70 years, we need to now double it in next 10 years. That is what is the expectation. So if the expectation is this much, how do we need? There has to be some mechanism, some steps. So what certain things which have come out from the national education policy and certain things which we recommend at our side, in which a huge cooperation will be required from each one of you. Number one, what we have said is that working hours to be extended. When I say working hours to be extended, do not think that course duration is going to be increasing for any particular course. It is that the facility or infrastructure which is there may please be utilized. Morning shift, afternoon shift, evening shift. Or certain institute we do not have an evening shift, to please use it as a diploma polytechnic. It's a facility already existing. Why go for an additional infrastructure? Please use it. Extensive use of mother tongue or local language, like the way which has already been proposed by the national education policy. And AICT is already speaking, highly pushing, and if I may say, we are requesting even universities to come on board for this particular activity of carrying out technical book writing in regional languages. And with the support of the ministry and guidance of the ministry, this particular coming academic year, it has already been said that at least an attempt be made to give students an opportunity to study in their regional languages. So to that, we are absolutely identifying faculty members who are in a position to write books in their regional language as applicable to undergraduate first year. Then is larger interaction between higher education institutes and schools. Today there is an absolute zero interaction. At least I don't remember in my school times ever visiting any college or any institution. Never, nobody even took us there. So we were absolutely clueless what are we supposed to do when we grow up. It was purely that I am a son of an army officer, I became an army officer. Somebody son of a doctor, he went on to become a doctor. That is how our education system is moving. So what we have recommended is larger interaction and periodic interaction between higher education institutes and schools. Another thing which we have recommended is adoption. Adoption of certain class 1 institutes like NITs and IITs. Why can't they adopt certain schools? coming within their jurisdiction or district, so that a child gets motivated enough. Once or twice as a school student, if you visit an NIT, IIT, or you visit an educational institution, you will get to see a laboratory, you'll get to see a classroom, you'll get to see the facilities. A little bit motivation does increase, and this may not, but at least it's an attempt to increase in the GER. Online education. One of the major recommendation of your NEP is online and ODL. With online education now coming to 40%. Other day also when I was saying this thing, very rightfully this particular subject was coming in. When a child has to study an online education sitting at home, two things are going to happen. Number one is fees is going to be reducing. Where is the necessity of spending full 4 years in a college? If you can take 40% of online education, credit from online, so only for the balance 60% and the practical work which he or she is supposed to do, for that he is supposed to come to the college. So his fees reduces, opportunity to many more people. And number two, physical occupation of your institutions also reduce. And you can always think of how to manage the balance time. So certain allied activity can also commence in a particular institution related to teaching and learning. However, as much as online activity can carry out, one thing will always remain, that no activity towards skill development will be related to an online process. That will continue to be in a face-to-face mode only. Another thing which, ma'am, I'll just take a call, please do not mind. Venkat. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. नहीं, दो भेजिए ना, दो ग्रीन शीट्स एंड दो एजेंडा भेजिए. हाँ, करेक्ट. देयर आर टू नोट शीट्स, दोनों ही हैं. एक के अंदर कोऑर्डिनेट, नहीं, देयर आर टू डिफरेंट एजेंडास. एक के अंदर कोऑर्डिनेटर, यू हैव रिसीव्ड टू एजेंडा ना. वन ऑफ देम ने ग्रीन शीट में सर ने लिखा है टेबल एजेंडा, सेकंड में लिखा है कि एज एन एडिशनल एजेंडा. हाँ, उसको एनेक्स करना है जो नोटिंग शीट के अंदर, जो सर ने बोला है टू पुट इट एज ए टेबल एजेंडा. अंडरस्टूड. 10 मिनट में आ रहा है, 10 मिनट में आ रहा है, 10 मिनट्स में आ रहा है. Okay. Sorry, ma'am, I'm extremely sorry. Extremely sorry. We were there, at how to maximize the GER. Another very important activity which has been coming out of this particular NEP only is of virtual laboratories. Today, this is not something which is very new to you people. Already speaking, last time when I visited one of the institutes, COEP in Maharashtra, College of Engineering, Pune, one of the biggest virtual laboratories which I could see or imagine in my life was already existing. So what does it say? That virtual laboratory can be at one institute, but the utilization of that particular place or equipments to be shared. Sharing of the resources, sharing of infrastructure, sharing of faculty members who are qualified enough. All these activities will lead to improving. And none of the activities can happen unless and until, there is an able support from central government and the state government. So we do mention in our recommendation very clearly that there needs to be a very clear support which is coming from the center and the states toward making this particular activity increase. One thing which we together with UGC and ministry, all of us felt very important as why there has been a gradual decline of the educational institutes. I have not said the word, I never use the word gradual death. I use the word there has been a gradual decline. And the gradual decline, why it has happened? Because there is a parallel education system which is running in the environment. And that parallel education system happens to be coaching. So unless and until this coaching culture, which is prevalent, I don't think so any activity or step, whatever you or me or anybody can do, can ever succeed. So till the time you don't break the mindset of a parent or student, that the teacher who is teaching you in the school or the college happens to be the best, and what he or she is teaching is something which is very, very relevant, and this is exactly what will come. Coaching will continue. Coaching continues, that boy or a girl per force is not very keen on attending here and going there. So we have recommended for absolute coaching activity to be stopped. These are the outcomes which are coming out of the national education policy during the implementation. If I verbally just tell you what is NEP, NEP everybody can read. How to read into the NEP and then try to implement it, this is where you and me are now coming in, because person who had to write it is already written it and gone. Now it's for you and me to actually put it on ground and make sure that it fructifies into some reality for us to see it together. And one very important outcome which has come out of this is that equal opportunity to be given to all for complete integration. And when I use the word complete integration, means complete migration from ITI to diploma to degree. Everybody to be given an opportunity to enhance his or her technical qualification by means of learning. There should be absolutely no demarcation between vocational and general education. By how to bring it? This can be brought out by bringing the commonalities in learning outcomes at different level. Highlight certain commonalities. Certain commonalities will always be more than 60%. And if need be, introduce certain bridge courses. We do this, let us tell you, your stigma today, what is there in the environment for a vocational course, will go down. It's extremely important to bring everybody on par. So this is one of the major recommendations which are coming out as to how to do it. I said very clearly, there is no option for exit after first year. There will be no certificate which will be awarded to the person. Only thing that he can carry forward is his credit marks. This has been purposefully, forcefully told by us, and we have written this particular recommendation in bold capitals, so as to ensure that the multiple entry and exit point has been taken care of. Otherwise, that leaves a little bit of gap in between. If somebody leaves after first year, what kind of employability will he get? First year is just learning something very, very basic. He is learning the same standard subjects only. So this is one of the major recommendations which has come in. Rest of the activities which we have said that even though very much existing today in all institutions, however, it does find a mention in the national education policy. It does say that, very strong student counseling and mentoring mechanism to be existing, various bodies to be there to oversee the activities, where we put in our own point is that when you're teaching the student as part of his teaching and learning, appropriate tools as necessitated by the various technology which we people are now being exposed to for the purposes of fun-based learning, gamification, Indian art, all to be also utilized. Today when we call of, multiple ways of imparting education, all of us will go to Blackboard, we will go to that PowerPoint presentation, we will go to a video, and we will go to text. That needs to be a little bit more broadened and little bit of more activities which are now coming out on technology to be utilized. One thing more which we have said is that very clearly, that in the first year of the student, a psychometric analysis to be done, even though a lot of institutes do it. We are aware of a lot of institutes who do that. But we did mention very clearly that this particular activity to be carried out, so that tomorrow a child should not get into a wrong particular discipline or a stream and then later on say that I want to change, even though that option is very much given to him at that point of time also, but just to make sure that he is not even going into a wrong discipline, carry out this activity, make him confident of the stream discipline which he takes and let him go forward. Another thing very clearly we mentioned with no uncertain terms is BTech to be minimum of 4 years and MTech to be minimum of 2 years with inbuilt pedagogy content, so that little bit of doubt also which is prevalent, the doubt does not remain. It's very clearly we put up a thing, it's 4 and 2. And what is ODL and online? What we have recommended, the skill levels which are there on per NSTC and NOC, which are National Occupation Standards, be introduced. Let that skill level be introduced and let skill parameter level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6 be given, which is comparable and compatible to certain set of skill sets, and that certain set of skill sets are accepted by the NHEQF for the purposes of giving him a job. Bring in this particular system which is very much existing today. In the Skill Council of India, this particular activity is very much existing. Bring it, make sure that it is implemented. Another very important activity or very important chapter of your national education policy happens to be internationalization. When I use the word internationalization, it's both ways. Attracting foreign students coming to India and setting up your campuses abroad in foreign countries also. It's both ways. Setting up your campuses abroad is, I personally feel, a little bit more easier than attracting foreign students to come to India. So please learn, all of us, to devise certain mechanisms. There are a whole lot of attract foreign students. Bulk of our recommendations, which we have said, pertains to showcasing our Indian values, Indian culture, Indian norms, Indian traditions, which rightfully mixed with our education can attract foreign students. We seem to be excelling in yoga, but till the time some European does not say that yoga is good, we don't even understand what is yoga. So the moment somebody says in Europe that yoga is good, all of us start saying, yes, yoga we invented. But it has been lying in front of us for so many years when we don't seem to be appreciating yoga. So we also need to be seeing inside and inwards and making sure that we accept our talent, highlight those talent, make some sort of a practical living module, showcase yourself to the international world. This is our one of the major recommendations which is coming for the purposes of internationalization, besides many other which are known to you people. You know how to make visa norms simple, how to go outside, how to go to various university campuses and talk about your Indian society, culture and all. But one of the major ones comes is first we need to develop our own and realize our own potential which is existing. We recommended very clearly, it's very easy to make a curriculum, it's very easy to make a bridge courses, it's very easy to make courses. Very good line which comes in your national education policy is assessment. There's a very clear 2-3 paragraphs on assessment. Now when we say an assessment, it is a continuous activity which is an online assessment and offline assessment. Nowhere when we today suddenly seem to be speaking of online, we need to lose the sight of an offline assessment. And this will be purely based on the learning outcomes, fulfilling the needs of Bloom's taxonomy. Already here, if you see, AICTE has introduced, examination reforms policy in the year 2018, 19, I think, if I'm not wrong. And based on that, we are regularly now taking our webinars. We are sensitizing the environment as to what is the examination reforms and how you're supposed to be framing a question bank and question paper. There couldn't have been a more apt time when immediately when this national education policy has come, we are also carrying out this activity. Flexibility. Quite obviously, when number of courses are increasing, number of opportunities are increasing, number of avenues are opening up, so quite obviously method of delivery also is going to increase. So you can have an option. This is where the autonomy comes into play. Have autonomy, you take a call, you decide whether this particular course to be given in face-to-face, online or blended. This is for you to take a call. And how much percentage of what for a particular course to be decided by the respective academic council based on the requirement for that particular course. That is also nobody is going to define this for. It would be left to each and every higher education institute as and when multidisciplinary consent or the value-based multidisciplinary consent does come into play. And very important recommendation suggestion which we mention is, for the purposes of credits, 60% to be your foundation courses. That is the core subjects. Core subjects to include 50% foundation courses. It can be from the same institute or it can be from the institute of equal ranking and rating. 20% to be program electives. And the last 20% to be open electives. With option to basic sciences, humanities, universal human values, art, crafts, music, legal, health. This is also one of the major recommendations of national education policy. However, 60-20-20 is something which we are recommending how to bring it on board. Otherwise, why should an engineering student study health? And even if he studies health and if he is not being given a credit, why should he study? Why should he study legal? So we propose 20% open electives wherein he is at liberty to choose any of the subjects which are available in open domain in form of online education, whether in Swayam, Arpit or any other platform. Research, another extremely important topic, has been rightfully identified as an activity which requires a thrust and a focus. It has been agreed to and it has been accepted as part of the national education policy. The distribution of the grants for research have been uneven, thereby benefiting certain regions and neglecting certain regions for whatever reasons well known. Lesser said the better. So this education policy does bring out a very clearly national research foundation with a very clearly task and mandate laid out, wherein there will be equal opportunity to be given to all education institutes across the country, with absolutely no demarcation between a government or a private. Ultimate aim is everybody is teaching and learning under only one ambit of Ministry of Education. So there's going to be no differentiation between a government or a private. Industry-sponsored research, pooling of resources, and PG students to be co-opted for conducting the research is another one of the recommendations. That is how you relate yourself to the industry and the need of the society, which is on a day-to-day requirement. One thing which we lack, and I would be upfront in admitting it, which we lack, is literacy on IPR. Most of us do not even understand what's an IPR. Full form everybody will understand, but what goes on behind an IPR, I don't think so anybody knows also. So this has been told as to be one of the very important subjects to be undertaken by the NRF, and what we recommend is that Center of Excellence to be established, generally speaking, in a value-based multidisciplinary institute in the year by 2030, wherein they will be called a Center of Excellence for the purpose of providing equal opportunity for research and innovations. They go together. They always go together. You know, research and innovation always walk side by side. So for the purpose of the research and innovation as per the societal needs. Unless and until these two are oriented towards the society needs, any research or any innovation is irrelevant. So this is something also which goes on to our implementation recommendation. Very important thing which also been mentioned is internship, and towards this. AICT is already speaking, I think, way ahead. And when we have already speaking an internship portal, we have a National Education Alliance for Technology, wherein we are providing internship to various students with even option for a fifth internship. For every 4 paid internship, the fifth is a free internship, which will be given to the EWS category. So I think internship has been well understood, well taken on by people, and it's going into in the right direction. Another very important activity which we have mentioned is every institute to be measured when the NIRF ranking or any other ranking is being done. For that matter, one should never be focused on a ranking. This is also one of our another recommendation. Ranking should not be a parameter for each one of us to be competing with each other. Ranking is just a measure of your physical standing. It no way means that somebody who is 47th or 48th is better than the person who is 49th. It is just that certain set parameters which will define that person is better. So rather than madly rushing for an NIRF ranking, what we recommend, very important activity towards this should be attributable of the graduate outputs or attributes which were supposed to be there, measurable at the time of his passing out. This is one. Number two, we mentioned very clearly is mandatory social undertakings of institutions. Please define this. And this definition will not come from any regulatory body. This to be defined by your own respective institution. Please define it when you go to your board of governors or academic council or institutional development cell as something which has been recommended as part of this particular policy. Please define it, be realistic, try to achieve it, try to strive to achieve towards work towards that. And did I mention teacher education is extremely important. AICT is already having a policy by the name NITTT, National Initiative for Technical Teachers Training, mandatory for all teachers across AICT approved institutions, very well known to you people. So even though the chapters does figure in, it's our duty to also mention that at which point of time and where we are in that particular activity. There can be no activity which can be complete without the use of the word quality. And I don't know. I will ask anybody, what do you mean by quality? How do you define quality? Anybody? How do you define quality? Because I can be rest assured, or you will be rest assured, your neighboring person would be defining quality in a different manner. His understanding of the word quality would be different from you. I purchase a mango, I find it a top class quality. It is not necessary that the same mango is matching the same quality to you. You will find it to be useless. So how do we come to a quality? What is a quality? So first we need to understand. It's very easy, everybody comes and speaks quality in technical education, quality in that, quality in this. What is quality first? So quality is nothing but a set defined basic parameters or benchmarks. We need to first define what are these benchmarks to be understanding what is this quality that we keep talking of. So quality in technical education is on the same lines, same word. I've also used it. AICT is striving towards improvement of quality in education. I have not even defined what benchmarks I'm trying to achieve, but that is what exactly. So this policy has compelled us to define certain benchmarks. Exactly same thing we expect at your level, at everybody's level. And what we say, this also must be well known to each one of you, Professor Premvrat, a very well learned academician, when he was part of one of the committees, he said there has to be 3 things: attitude, skill and knowledge, a mix of which should be applicable to ITI, diploma, UG and PG. At all levels, these varies. He says you cannot define it. Attitude is something you cannot change. Attitude is something which is inbuilt. A person has to be understanding himself or herself. Skill and knowledge are 2 things wherein you people play a very important role. So again, see the teachers come into play. So even though the word quality, and then we go on to talk of these subjects, ultimately again, we go back to the faculty member only. So at every point of time when we take a vertical loop and go back into the importance of a faculty, please understand you people will continue to remain the most important, whether online comes, offline comes, blended comes, whatever way, today, tomorrow, day after, the system is going to come. A faculty is irreplaceable. Will continue to hold the same social status and standing what you hold today. So the nutshell, if I may say, if ma'am other day also, Savita ma'am, when I was telling, I practically stopped somewhere, touch and go here only, you know. Otherwise I can keep going. If you feel, I'll share slides with you. We have made some good slides. I will share some slides with you as to how do we propose implementation and activity proposal for the purposes of carrying out this activity over a period of next 15-20 years. But I have largely or broadly tried to tell you what is this education policy, where we are, what was the requirement for this to come in, identifying first our own drawbacks. And then if you read this and then if you try to find an answers to every paragraph, it comes so very easily. Me being from outside the system, coming into education just about 1.5 years back. If I can understand this, I can be rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, that you people understand 10 times more than me. So it is just a collective understanding of this particular activity, collective holding hands and walking together. Ministry of Education is doing a wonderful job in making sure that this particular policy gets implemented as per the timelines spelled out. It has already started off, even though very, very basic, you know, it looks very basic. They have renamed themselves from MHRD to MOE. But let me tell you, this is a fantastic start. The moment ministry only named themselves, renamed, at least one thing has happened. The indication has come to everybody that it's very serious affair. And you can be rest assured, ma'am, in a day doesn't go when I'm not on file for 3 years or anything. So you can see that it's a very serious activity which is going on. It is just a matter of time, or it's already, for that matter, you know, there is no time which has to be given now. Already implementation activities and points have already commenced at your end also. So ladies and gentlemen, I think I have done some justice to this particular talk. I've been able to give a brief insight. I've been able to give a brief rollout plan and activities which are already happening, which are proposed to take place, and which will be happening, and why they are needed, and in which way they would be doing, who will be carrying out. If I've missed out something, ladies and gentlemen, I can always come again and speak. You can always approach. You can always write down. There have been a whole lot of documents which have been written. My sharing with you another set of documents of 80 pages will be of no use. You might as well read the National Education Policy only then. The sharing of documents, even though recommended and suggested, will be of no value unless and until, you know, somebody really wants to read. So, ma'am, I would be requesting, if any query is there, anybody wishes to ask any question or something, or any suggestion, recommendation, you're please most welcome. You can drop a mail. You can drop a mail, you can drop a WhatsApp, and you be rest assured that particular thing will be taken care of. Yesterday only we received one suggestion, or day before yesterday, from one of the assistant professors. And mind you, the suggestion has gone right till the ministry. It is about something to do with ODL for technical education. The government doesn't allow ODL for technical education. He has quoted some reason, instances wherein, you know, in a village or in rural area, it is not possible. The child doesn't have that much income, parental income is not there, he is not in a position to even travel. Forget about multiple entry and exit, he is not even able to take the initial entry. And that recommendation, believe you me, that is gone right till the ministry. So please do not consider that any recommendation given by you will be put in the trash can. It would be given its due. We are looking forward to certain recommendations and suggestions toward the betterment for the purposes of implementation. Because see, the policy is already out. There's nothing much we can do about policy. You've got certain recommendation on how to implement it or how to better it. Like one another policy which I'm also as part of a committee for dyslexic children. That is the children with handicaps. There is this particular national education policy is silent on this. They are special needs children, the young children, they're special needs. This policy is silent on it. So there is a separate committee which has been constituted as to how higher education can be imparted to these type of children also, and what has to be their requirements. And all this has come out from recommendations from the environment. Thank you. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. It was a pleasure interacting with you. And as I always keep saying, it's an honor. It's my singular honor that I have been told to come and speak. And I hope I do little bit of, I would not say much, but little bit of justice to the talk, little bit of justice to your very, very valuable time, which you people have spared in listening to me. I make myself more educated when I speak, because the more I speak, the more I am remembering the subjects, that makes me that much more comfortable tomorrow. And thank you. Hope you people really enjoyed the subject. Hope you people will try to implement even a little bit of it, what was at your level and at each level. Collectively, I think when we do that, this policy will surely be succeeding. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir, for such a nice informative session. And you have really, what we are saying, that there are 10 key points of NEP. So you have just explored those things, and you are rightly said that when we are listening to the best person in that manner, so it is very much easier to understand the significant points of NEP. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for so nice words.
Any questions? You can raise the hand or you can put it in a chat box to host. I will give it to sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, I want to ask a question. Sir, our whole NEP is related to the community engagement. Actually, we are for the our NEP is for the benefits of the society. Sir, I would like to listen more on the community engagement. How the institution can be the part of this to connect the society to the institution, sir. So the implementation part, how it's possible. We are listening from Unnat Bharat Abhiyan or NSS activities. We are contributing somewhere to the society. But NEP, how we are expecting the difference now?
Ma'am, see that this particular subject is very well said, very valid point that you people bring in as to how to connect society or community. And ultimately, aim of each one of us has been how to develop the community into a better learning. If we go back into our ancient history, ma'am, because this particular policy, the start point happens to be that India was never lacking in any education system. Our Nalanda Vishwavidyalaya, once upon a time, when we talk of it with a lot of pride today, because suddenly this NEP has brought back to you that Nalanda also existed. So when we talk of Nalanda, when we went into the history of Nalanda, please understand how did Nalanda was funded and developed. There was no central government funding. There was no royal funding at that point of time. The funding came from the society. The funding for that particular, and mind you, that was one of the biggest universities at that point of time. So the funding for that came from the society, when the society collectively understood that being educated is the only way that a human being can actually speaking be surviving. So when the basic concept of an education was understood, it was a community funded university which was there, and when the community funded university was there, everybody, right from the board of governors to the academic council to the management, to everybody was having a representative of the community in them. A member from the society was there. So the accountability factor of the institute very much increased or multiplied when you were responsible to the people who were funding to you. Now come to today's reality. Today's reality is such that each and every institution is actually funded either by government, partially semi-autonomous, or even privately funded. So how do we see the society? How does the society see your institute? Society sees your institute as only a process of 4 years. My child has gone and he's going to come back literate and educated and he needs to get a job. So your measurable outcome of your institute is not you, not your laboratory. It is the last gentleman who is the placement officer. So today when the society has a disconnect in education, there has been many activities which have carried out, and very rightfully you did mention that Unnat Bharat Abhiyan is one of the activities which government is doing it. This national education policy correctly identifies involvement of the society and public at large. And one more thing that is written in the policy, it mentions expectations generating out of the parents. Parents also have been mentioned. The parents are nothing but parents are part of the society only. They are community. But their expectations should be practical expectations which are coming. And the national education policy then mentions one thing very clearly: every multidisciplinary university or institute tomorrow, and I did mention that high performing institutions to please adopt a district. When you adopt a district, each and every school in that district is coming under your ambit. And in addition to schools, each and every industry which is either an established or a partial or even an artisans who are there in that particular district or region will get associated to you for the purpose of the vocational. Artisan get associated to purposes of vocational training from school level also. It does mention from middle school 6 to 8 vocational training to be given. So see, the artisan get involved, he gets certain living out of it, student gets certain education out of it. So there's a living model being established. Come to higher education, when you're carrying out research, each and every research, each and every innovation which you people would be doing will be specifically societal needs only. It would not be something which is today going on. When I sanction research projects here or MODROP here in AICT today, I hardly get to see any societal needs out of it. Thankfully and hopefully tomorrow when this goes from us to NRF, somebody would be relating this and relating to the community. Ultimate aim is a development of community into some kind of a system wherein they feel associated with educational body. Today, absolutely, there is just a matter of 4 years I am paying fees. And if I am paying fees, my son will be getting a job of 20 lakhs. It doesn't happen like this. But today, unfortunately, what has happened is a measurable outcome of an institute is your placement. In our time, I don't think so. Placement was ever a measurable outcome. Placement was just an activity which was being done by the institutes. You were not accountable for placement. Slowly, placement happened. Slowly, somebody started doing good placements. So he started advertising. The more he advertised, the more students started going towards him. I think we need to break this mindset. And this is exactly what has been mentioned into the policy now. That it is not only students, not only the faculty, not only institution, it is the public at large and the society also which needs to be coming on board. I hope I've given some kind of a connect to your community, ma'am. And there have been certain ways and means and measures wherein been certain exposures to various educational institutes, certain options, avenues to even parents to understand the subject which the child is taking. Psychometric analysis, I would rather say, rather than the student, psychometric analysis should be done of the parents also. But that is not something which we are recommending. It is my personal suggestion. Because one needs to understand that today our family are such that we are driven by our family. So it's a holistic change and holistic connect any activity carried out in isolation will never be a success. And mind you, ma'am, let me be very honest and upfront with you, I'm an army officer. Let me tell you, even today, tomorrow, day after 50 years also, when I walk in the society, everybody in the society will respect an army officer. But in your case, please understand, even though you people are the brightest, the best, I don't think so anybody can even match your academic skills. But every time you walk out, every time you are made accountable for something. So we need to change this whole thought process. As a faculty, you can't be questioned on each and every activity tomorrow. But that is how I am. My son is also in second year. Quite obviously, I also hold the faculty responsible if he is not getting the marks. If I myself do this, imagine what others are doing. But that is how the system is, ma'am. So it's a collective effort, and it does mention in one of the chapters that this particular activity to succeed will require a uniformed cooperation and cohesion from each and every member of the society. It does mention that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Most welcome, ma'am. Most
Actually,
welcome.
I was searching for a community engagement chapter in the ME actually.
Oh, no,
But
ma'am.
so it was not there. It was not there. So yeah.
It is not
It's
there, ma'am. The community chapter per se is not there. It has been mentioned very clearly that it's a cohesive involvement of everybody towards a common cause. Now, this particular line needs to be broken down and understood as to how to implement it, how to bring somebody's parents, somebody's father, the society, the community on board, so that we give in our recommendations. This is how it has been spelled out, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, ma'am. With your permission, ma'am, it was a pleasure talking. Any query, please do not stop it here. Anybody having any recommendations, suggestions, query, answers, questions, anything, please drop a mail. If I have your permission, ma'am, I'll take leave.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your valuable time with us. We are delighted to have you in this session.
Pleasure, ma'am. Pleasure is all mine. It's a great pleasure and an honor, to be invited and be speaking. And Savita, ma'am, thanks once again. It's my singular honor to be invited. Thank you once again, Anurag. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Patiently being hearing. I'm very sorry, ma'am. I just missed out your name, ma'am. HOD CSE department. I'm so sorry. I missed out your name, ma'am.
It's Megha Kamble.
Pardon, ma'am?
Dr. Megha Kamble.
Dr. Megha Kamble, ma'am, apologies, sincere apologies to you, ma'am. I should have rightfully remembered and taken your name at the beginning only.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
No, ma'am. These are basic courtesies of interaction. Apologies once again. But notwithstanding, now I'm not going to forget your name, ma'am.
It was very nice session.
Thank you very much, sir.
It was very nice session, sir. Thank you for the session.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And thank you, ma'am. And thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right, coming back to the session, Anurag sir,
Yes,
sorry
ma'am.
for the inconvenience, and now I request you to sum up your lecture, as
Okay,
people have
okay.
been for a long time,
So
everyone is engaged with the session.
Exactly. So I think let's